There you go. Everyone's in from the waiting room.
Thank you, Meg. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to everybody that's joining us in person and those of you that are joining us online. I'd like to call to order the regular monthly business meeting, September 5th, 2025, the Union Transit Board of Directors. I'll do a quick roll call. Jill Johnson. Here. See you. Melanie Bacon. She's
Here.
Oh, good morning, Melanie.
Morning.
Janet Sinclair, I see you up in the corner. Good morning.
I'm up in the corner.
Mr. Craig Sear.
And I am here.
Mr. James P. Merrill.
Present.
And Danny Julian.
I'm present. Thank you.
Good morning. Danny, did I say your last name right?
It's Julene, but everyone says Julian, so either or.
Julie. No, I want to say I'm on a quest to say it correctly from now on.
Thank you.
Okay, Matt, we have a quorum. Has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda? Any questions or changes? May I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Thank you. The consent agenda, questions, comments, feedback? I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as approved, as presented. Those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Okay, this is the time set aside for members of the public to speak to the board about subjects of concern or interest or items not already set aside for a public hearing. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Public comment may be ended or modified if the comments become disruptive or are not germane to business at hand. Input requiring lengthier comment is best submitted in writing. Do we have any public comments? Don't see any in the room. Any online?
No.
Okay. We will close the public input and comment section. Go to business item number 1. That's me, right? Yeah. Okay. So in the board packet, you were provided with an overview of board and executive leadership roles. This is a product of the board retreat that we had earlier this year in May. And there was an exercise for Jill's benefit. I'll just share that we did an exercise with the entire room. Everybody had whiteboards and we talked through roles and responsibilities when it came to the board and internal operations and executive director. All of that was compiled. And then Melinda and Kelly, yeah, our consultant, we kind of worked together with Meg and kind of talked through the parts and pieces. It was a huge spreadsheet. And so we've sort of distilled it down into these topics and then kind of identified what the roles and responsibilities are as they're divided between the board and then the internal. So I'll start off, if anybody's had a chance to review it. Do you want me to go through it slide by slide? I hate to read the piece out to you. Yes, okay. I didn't know you put it in slides.
Meg did that. Meg did.
Meg, you're amazing.
And she just did each topic.
Okay,
So it's brief.
yeah, so this is a follow-up and you know, the purpose is really to clarify the respective roles. And the central idea is really straightforward. The executive director and staff are focused on operational leadership, management, and strategy implementation. And the board's role is identified of one as strategic governance and oversight. And so that just helps kind of define the lines. Sometimes we're going to have situations where things blur. We're going to have to come together to collaborate. But we just, I think as a group, compiling all of this information came to the consensus that that's kind of where the roles live. So before I move on, James P. Merrow, you're shaking your head.
Oh, it's good. I mean, it's good stuff. I'm excellent.
Do you remember?
Well, I'm reading over these things and it sounds like it's just very much a slice distillation of many inputs from
Okay,
the retreat. Excellent.
all right. Want to go to the next piece? So on the fiduciary and governance roles, and again, Meg, thank you for putting this all together. This is amazing. Executive director and staff roles, and I think this is really kind of a timely piece because we'd had a chance to talk to Commissioner Johnson just as we're entering into the budget exercise for this next year, that the enterprise will put together and submit the budget for review. But I think also one of the things that we really recognize is this need for transparency throughout the process, so that it isn't just a document that gets presented for us to simply approve, that it is a collaborative process, that it is something that starts with the management and the leadership and then trickles down to us for feedback, and that we're given time and resources to be able to discuss and make changes as necessary. And so then the board's role going forward is, to review it, recommend any sort of changes, and then do we use the word approve?
Mhm.
Okay, approve. So, did I miss anything?
No,
Okay,
too great.
all right, planning and operations. Again, executive director and staff role. Responsible for developing detailed long-range plans and presenting operational data. And that the board then approves these strategic plans and non-budgeted initiatives and oversee the operational reports. And I think one of the things that we have on this kind of long-range to-do list that I know Melinda and Meg and others on the team are working towards is to present us with key performance indicators, a timeline for reporting, so that it is kind of a regular cadence of us seeing things throughout the year. So that, again, there's no surprises, there's no sticker shock, there's nothing that has not been discussed prior, and that way then it will help us to be better stewards ultimately. Next slide, unless there's questions. Hearing none, we'll move on. So staffing and human resources, executive director office manages all the HR functions alongside her HR team. And the board's role is to ratify the labor contracts, ensure adherence to established process while avoiding micromanagement. And I think that pretty much sums it up. So, questions? Did I leave anything out for those that were in the room, if you're seeing anything that you thought was top of mind for you when we were doing this exercise and it's not represented here, I'd love to have that feedback. We really did go through every single one of those sheets and everything that was captured and put them into the proper categories. But again, if there was something that was top of mind for you, I want to make sure that we represent it in this document. So feedback before I move on.
Under the board's role, we do more than ratify, we set the parameters.
Okay.
And
Yeah, providing the guardrails.
Okay.
And we did have that.
Okay.
How many?
What was that? Okay. Say that again, John.
we set the parameters
parameters.
for labor contracts, so. It shouldn't get negotiated outside of the guidelines that are set by the board.
Got it. We will add that.
See a nod from legal counsel, correct?
I'm assuming it was just assumed, but
No, that makes sense. I think I think personally, sometimes we can get in the weeds and be redundant because different people said it in different ways, but definitely that's something that's missing from this.
And it was included in the initial, so I think of pairing.
I will take responsibility.
That's all right. We worked hard on.
A lot of people with a lot of ideas, try to get it all together and condense it. Okay, Public relations and communications. Executive director and staff manage all media relations and customer inquiries. Board members should direct all media inquiries to the executive director and represent the organization's mission publicly. I'm gonna kind of put Melinda and Celine on the spot for kind of what that process looks like. If maybe you could kind of share, if we do get an inquiry, email, phone call, who does it go to first? Just,
Okay, sure.
can you guys talk through that?
Absolutely. Well, Celine is well versed in, being a public information officer. I also, have been certified under, I think it's FEMA. That, as a public information officer, I'm always grateful if we send things direct to Celine, because she does a really good job with it. She also has the relationships with the reporters here on the island. And one of the ways, I may be so bold, is to really, handle things that come out in the media, is to develop those relationships over time, so that when there is something that happens, you can reach out to those folks. We've invited a couple of them here. They have not yet taken us up on the offer, because I'd like to give them a tour and dispel. There was things, for example, in the paper about the hydrogen buses, and information I've been given that wasn't really accurate. So I wanted to help them understand it in a better way. But as far as the parameters go, just keeping me in the loop. So if you get a media inquiry, please send it direct to Celine with a CC to me, and between the two of us, we'll make sure it gets handled. So it's keeping me constantly in the loop, but I can also step in if Celine's unavailable. So
And
for you.
it is, and I always let you know if there's any kind of fighting through.
Yeah.
Jill, I'm thinking about it.
I have a little comment.
Okay.
I've had it occur to me, in other capacities where the constituents and people out in the public are saying, what about this and this and this? And I don't need to, I hope not to be the last to know. So if something goes down, I love the emergency text or some sort of, urgent text, or just to inform me, so that
Sure.
I don't have that deer in the headlights look when I'm speaking to a constituent who's asking me about something.
Absolutely. And that's a good case in point, when we had an accident back in February. I reached out to Matt right away so that he was able to inform the board through attorney-client privilege, because of course we can't discuss active investigations, but we needed to let the board know immediately, because you are going to hear about that stuff. And I want to make sure you hear about it from me before you hear about it.
Thank you.
So,
Commissioner Johnson.
I think where I might be struggling is not in the illustration you gave, right? So there's obviously like risk management things, there's personnel related things, there's things that are really detrimental to the organization if you say the wrong thing. But then there are other things that are somewhat policy related, where there could be differences of opinion or approaches. And I don't want to damage the organization, but I can think of, again, instances where the organization was out of alignment with board's values. And by not allowing the board to speak, if the directive from staff is to, if the directive from the executive director is you will say this, and it's reinforcing a message or value that is out of alignment with the board, how does the board? I mean, I can think of scenarios where you could be asked questions and it's like, I have no idea, right? And then you call and then all of a sudden it gets spun and it gets glossed over and it gets fixed. Where is the board's authority to speak on behalf of the citizens and educate citizens in a situation where, wait a second, are we supposed to just say there's not a problem if that's what the executive director chooses to say? What if there's a problem? Our responsibility is to say, hey, we need to refocus and go in a different direction. I can see where the chair would maybe speak, or I guess I'm just a little bit nervous about saying no using your elected voice. And I'm not sure where that line is, and I'm not trying to derail it, but I feel like that's a little bit, fox watching the hen house a little bit on potential community messaging.
I think, our bylaws, and Meg or Matt, you would need to let us know. I think the bylaws indicate that media inquiries can be handled by, the chair. But I think that's something, I think that's something that as, we get into the action log, one of the things is to update our bylaws. And we do that as a group together, and I think maybe that's where we can request it. What do you think?
I think that's good. I mean, I get the intention, and I think it's correct to not create liability or risk. I just also want to avoid a situation where the singular perception is coming from potentially where a problem could be, right? And at some point, the board needs to assert itself and say, that's not the messaging we're gonna put out anymore.
And there is a nuance to this, that I think we're talking about speaking on behalf of the board, or it's the voice of the board. That's certainly not infringing at all on individuals' First Amendment right to express their own opinion, so.
I mean, I wouldn't, like the example you gave, I have no opinion on an accident or an investigation because there's really large consequences to saying the word wrong, right? The wrong word is.
Or not knowing all the facts.
Right, I mean, that is, but then there are other things where it's like, why did you vote differently? I feel like that's something, if you got a follow-up press call to say,
Sure.
why did you feel different than the rest of your board members? You should be able to say what your policy view was, especially if it was in an open meeting.
Sure.
Okay, so maybe I just took that as a little more directive than it was intended to be. I took that as not thought.
I think we've had occasions, if I may.
Sure.
Where we've had members of the press reach out directly to a board member asking them specifically about the accident, right? And so I encouraged at that time, please do not speak to the media, and that's why we had, you know, the
Right,
attorney
right.
speak on that. So again, I revert back to that example, but, I think like Matt says with, you know, First Amendment rights, and of course your own. So if they were gonna follow up and ask you something,
Yeah, okay.
but I think we should
let
find
me
out in our bylaws.
Yeah, I'm fine. It just made me nervous. James?
With regard to, one-off, what do you call it, one-off, crisis management, then there's real value if people come to the board that we would come together with a decision, you know, a messaging, and probably through Jenny would be the best, singular voice to speak on some matter like that. But with regard to routine, policy, votes and, actions by the board, I can understand Jill's, view that we ought to be able to speak of why we vote a certain way, and I think that is a given. But I'm absolutely certain that whenever there's anything that is, even remotely close to a crisis looking thing, that we need to singularly have a voice, and probably, the chair would be able to speak to that too, as well as the executive director. Does it sound?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
that
Just making
sounds
sure.
like an accurate.
And I can redraft that section, just.
We can work it out. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to not make a mistake. Well, I mean, I've had phone calls about like the Oak Harbor vote where I voted different. I got a phone call about that, and I explained why I voted different, where we were doing the pay for your police contract that I thought was crazy training. I got a phone call about that, right? And
Oh,
so,
Ours are.
yeah, where we sponsored
Yeah.
their police training. So I got a phone call about that, and I explained why I thought what I thought. I think that's okay. I think that's okay because it shows the public that there are differences of
Sure.
opinion that are being engaged in, and there's thoughtful deliberation.
Sure.
But I didn't read that as being okay, and even though I seem like I'm not a rule follower, I am a little bit,
Good to know.
a little bit.
Yeah, and I think the situations that we're talking about, I can clean this up a little bit so it doesn't seem so rigid, but it's still clear about what lane we're in. Other comments or questions from online before we move off of public relations and communications?
No, I
Okay.
would just concur that, the board chair absolutely speaks for the board in many of these instances, and of course would confer with our attorney if there was something that we were trying to navigate carefully. I think that's an entirely appropriate approach.
Thank you, Commissioner St. Clair. Okay,
I had one comment.
oh,
And that is that we all know that we did some difficult things last year that don't really fit in with what the board's role is in this document. I just want to make sure that if that should ever happen again, that we have the ability to take those sorts of actions again. I would not want to, limit our ability to step outside of our lane in an emergency situation.
At the
Natalie?
direction of the board, right?
Yeah, not as individuals, exactly.
Yeah, during times of change management, then we would look to legal to be able to take the lid off of some things.
Yeah, and then the board is the decision maker, so.
Perfect.
Okay.
thank you for that feedback, that's great.
Okay.
And then the document also outlines principles for effective collaboration, which obviously are crucial for our working relationship. And I think that so far so good, we're doing a really great job. So the executive director should provide timely and thorough information to all board decisions. For all board decisions, board members should exercise critical thinking in their evaluations and channel all staff requests through established processes, avoiding direct instructions to staff outside of formal meetings. And then finally, before I move off of that, questions, comments, feedback on just these collaboration principles. These seem pretty straightforward, but
I just have a question. It's been very valuable for me to interact with the executive director, even, talking issues informally, so to speak. And I just want to make sure that I'm in my lane by doing that, but it's not none of it's binding. It's more informative and just how she's tracking and how we're moving forward but I'm not directing anything or anything like that. I just talking up these
No, and
concepts.
we're doing that. I'm doing that with each of you.
Okay,
during our
just making sure that
one-on-ones.
I'm
Yeah,
okay with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, you're fine.
But I think that last bullet point is more about direct interaction with management level staff. Like, I think that's where you get problems is when board members decide that they're in charge of like equipment or maintenance or.
Right.
Right, like that the board should be interacting with you as the executive director, not reaching into the organization and simply saying, well, I'm gonna
Yes.
decide that I know how to run the budget, for example. So when I had ideas, I didn't want to just meet with Paul because that puts
Right,
Paul in a really
absolutely.
awkward spot. And so I think that's how I took that. It's that management staff. Don't do that.
Well, and I appreciated that because I think that really fantastic ideas bubbled to the top that we may not always have the opportunity to kind of discuss at that level. But you're right, it would have put him in an odd situation because then it's kind of a little bit of a tug of war. And I think that's what we're trying to avoid. So that was a perfect example of transparency. So questions from online, comments?
It's Janet. I think the board can affirm the direction our meetings have taken where we request the executive director to bring senior leadership to our board meetings. So if we have direct questions, it's in the context there. Because what I don't want to do is triangulate, like go over to Paul or whoever, and suddenly I'm triangulating him with the executive director, or with board intent or whatever. But I do think access to the people who know the work so that we have transparency in operations, which we didn't really have before. And so by requesting Melinda and continuing the practice of having them at our meetings, it keeps the whole board able to ask questions if they arise. Does that make sense to the rest of you? We have the right as board to direct Melinda to bring those people to our meeting so we can ask questions as
Absolutely.
needed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I want to just affirm that practice as board direction if the other board members agree.
Yeah, that's perfect.
May I speak?
Sir.
I would agree with that, if there's that thing about, throwing a live wire out there and leaving the executive director off guard about some subject or whatever, so I think that anytime we bring up something directly to senior managers from the departments and everything, that the executive director would know in advance what we're bringing up.
Yeah.
So.
I agree.
I agree too.
Well, it gives everybody a chance to kind of marinate in it, to have a meeting.
No surprise.
Yeah. So,
Even though I failed to make my meeting with Melinda last week, it's part of how I use that 30 minutes is to review the agenda materials. And if I have questions that I have of staff or Melinda, it gives me the opportunity to ask in advance. So there's no UXBs that I've got sitting in the middle of the room.
Yes, and I'm sorry we didn't connect. We
It's
attempted like
it's on
10
me.
times.
It's fine. It's fine. It's just I'll try to be better
No
at that.
worries, no worries.
So, and then finally, the document includes a list of action items that we can now move forward on. Actually, some of them we've already moved forward on. You know, such as developing a presentation on addressing employee concerns and updating the board bylaws. So we will continue to update this matrix with status, going forward, but wanted everyone to see these items that came out of the board retreat, who the owners are, and then what the status and progress is, or timeline for when some of these will be started. And again, if there are things that you thought we took everything from all of the feedback, but if there's something that you feel is missing, or any of these action items need to be enhanced at all or increased, just, let us know. It's a working document, it's a living document, and it's something that we want to make sure that we're holding ourselves accountable to complete. So, questions, comments, feedback, emotional outbursts, anything?
Not about that. Look, anyway, with regard to grievances and whistleblowing and disgruntled employees, being able to protect somebody, say, for instance, who's a whistleblower, I mean, that has to be managed very carefully with regard to the procedures so that it doesn't turn into a type of chaos in the whole organization, where it snowballs into something that it doesn't need to be. So I'm not just stating anything about it, in particular about what's in the action list here, but the matter of dealing with whistleblowers and grievances and these sorts of things, and being able to proactively anticipate potential reactions so that we don't end up with a bunch of litigation and uncontrolled media. I'm just speaking in general terms.
Sure.
But I think that feature needs to be somewhere in the action, because there's tremendous amount of fireworks that can happen with regard to.
Yes. And that's why we have our trusty attorney. As part of the
Legally
project
obligated.
team for that, but yeah.
I smile, the teeth made of steel.
I do think that's and it could just be that I haven't read my handbook, but it's a very valid point about training on how we handle grievances. I think the board could benefit from that, and then new board members could.
Yes.
So you do want a mechanism where you can be told something, especially again, in instances where we've seen in the past where the reporting structure wasn't a safe place to report. So then you'd go to a board member, but the board member needs to then know what to do,
Right.
and engaging directly is not what to do, but I'm assuming we would call maybe Matt. But again, then you're contacting our council without notifying an executive director. I think some clarity around that would be healthy for the board,
Right.
because I'm not sure I know. And I'm probably our greatest risk, so let's get me schooled up. Well, maybe Craig could be worse than me. Craig.
Is that true, Greg?
Well,
And I think the intent of this particular action item was to identify the lanes and the
Yeah.
guardrails around this
Yes.
with Matt's oversight.
And another item on this list is about developing the onboarding of new
Yeah.
board members. So we would include that as a
Yes.
onboarding.
Yes.
Sure.
Cause if I were
So-
this employee, I don't know how safe I would feel if everything had to feed back to the structure, if the structure's the issue, right? So there needs to be an outlet, we just need to know what to do with that information. Sorry, Craig.
Craig?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that Melanie mentioned or referred to the past experience that the board had working in crisis. So when we go through our future discussion and maybe bylaws, I think we can refer back to that time because surely nothing more extreme than that will ever happen. And so I think that'll help us.
Thank you. Any other comments, Janet? I see that you're off mute. Did you have a comment?
Nope.
Okay. I honor the off mute, just so everybody knows. I'll just roll through these really fast. So we have what James P. Merrow has already talked about, this whole presentation to clarify the distinctions, the lanes and the guardrails. And then, the monthly pre-meeting. And then, board rules during crisis, which, I think that kind of comes into a number of the areas that we talked about today. So I think that will give us great clarity. The draft of the rhythm of business, I don't know who used that term during the retreat, but I left it in here because I thought it was kind of fancy.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's not necessarily something that we currently have now, which is the expectation around reporting and meetings and all that kind of transparency. So I'm really excited, for that work to be completed, and I know that you're already in process of doing that. And then the preliminary KPI reporting plan, I mentioned that at the top of this discussion, which is to really have a sound sense of what is going to be reported on, when it is going to be reported on, and what part of the entity is going to be responsible for reporting on that. The safety and security long-range planning, I know that's been ongoing. I know Meg has been looking at the bylaws, and that will be something she will undertake, I think more holistically Q1, the board resources, and then I know that, a call out to the board workshop, part 2, in March.
Mhm.
And then, the SOPs for safety and security. So this is a very robust action item list. But once again, if there was anything that was top of mind for any of the board members, any of the team members that you think needs to be on here. Jill taught me a term last week, which was supplemental. So we can have additional action items that we can, look at from a forecasting perspective and then start to include these in the action items. But this is a very robust list. Questions, comments? Any additional feedback? Thank you all so much for the discussion and for being open to kind of talking through this. And especially to those that contributed to the exercise. I know, we buddied up. Everybody had their ideas. We captured everything. And I think that set us on a really, really good path to identifying these roles and responsibilities and then where we all intersect from a decision-making perspective. So with that, monthly reports.
Yeah. I'll jump in. So, Paul is taking a well-deserved vacation, so he did include, all of the information he normally includes in the board packet. We do have, Jenny and I asked him to provide 3 bullet points.
Which I failed to.
Right, that's all right, John. So 3 bullet points, or highlights of the information is that our sales tax revenue is on target, at a negative 16% below budget year to date. Transit has exceeded their monthly budget estimates for the past 6 months. Our cash increased about 1 million in July due to about 611,000 influx of cash from grant payments and a $450,000 reduction in non-payroll payments. Last bullet he provided was when looking at the budget, actual report, you can see that the 2025 revenue exceeded expenses by 3.8 million. We budgeted he has a negative 8.5 million deficit for 2025. A cash surplus is good news, but please note that a change in large capital spending can quickly shift the financial data upon project completion and payment. So I think a good example of that is money that we have allocated for vehicles that will not be paid out until either 2026 or 2027. So that's those things that can fluctuate.
And while he was out, the finance committee met with him prior to his leaving on vacation.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, executive director's report.
Okay, so the executive director report was sent out last night, yesterday afternoon, and I'm just gonna highlight a few of the items. The Community Advisory Committee, or CAC, we had it named ITAG last meeting, and we decided to go back to Community Advisory Committee. We've reached out to other Washington state transit agencies that have CACs in place. And we're gonna be utilizing the best practices from those agencies to formulate our group for all the many projects that we have. And our clerk of the board, Meg, will be bringing a draft program for board discussion to our October board meeting. And the draft will include recommendations for membership composition, bylaws, responsibilities, etc., as well as an update on how the agency will engage the CAC during our long-range planning process. So really happy to have Meg spearheading this. I hope she's smiling behind that screen. She's done such a good job with our board that I think it only appropriate that she guide this advisory board as well. Of course, with our marketing and planning team. So October, November board meetings. Last month, I asked if we could extend today's and October's board meeting. I'm now switching it to October, November. That is for the budget process to allow enough time for discussion. So we would like to respectfully request extending them to noon in October and November. Paul will be, when he gets back from vacation next week, we will be putting the polish on the first draft that will go out to the board ahead of October's meeting so that you have time to look, and it should go out prior to the board packet. Yes.
The October 3rd meeting, did we notice that meeting for any type of activity, or could that meeting be moved? It's a 5th week. So for the commissioners, that when it's a 5th week, I don't
Makes it really hard.
it makes it yes. So there's not very many in the year. We have had two kind of right in a row, but it is it's the 1 week where it's the one time that we can be gone, basically. And so we're usually gone. And so that's not the best one to introduce the budget. I don't know where my colleagues are, but I just want to call it out that I knew that was a problem. Last time we had a 5th week too. So I don't know if that could move to the 10th.
Meg, can you look at my calendar, please? I think
Sure
there was
thing.
a lot.
Sure
There was
thing.
a
One
lot of
second.
travel for me, but otherwise, if the board wants to move it, I don't think.
Okay.
I'm not available. I'm not available on the 10th. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I can't be.
Well, if my colleagues can be here, it's fine. But
I'm
usually
pleased to do it the 10th, flexible.
I just want to make sure there's a quorum.
I'm fine on the 3rd. I don't have any plans.
Up at 10.
I'm fine on the 10th or the 3rd, but the 10th doesn't work for Mr. Seer.
Melinda, you're open on the 3rd, of course, and also the 10th, and then your
Good.
calendar gets pretty full.
Okay,
How far in advance? I know you said that he's gonna be sending it out. That, so that Jill, if she's not able to be here on the third, would have a chance to review and provide feedback before we meet.
Oh,
on the
that's a
3rd.
good suggestion.
So you're asking me how far in advance he can send it
Yeah.
out? I'm not certain. I want to say 2 weeks in advance, but
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
because of.
Okay.
I know,
I
that's
just
fine, but
wanted
if
to-
it's,
I mostly just wanted to make sure that 3 of us weren't going to be gone. because
Sure.
Then that becomes a problem. It's not a me thing, it's a
okay.
majority
What
of
if-
the board.
Is a week enough or not, if he can't get it out in 2 weeks? I'm throwing that out there without Paul being here.
Yeah, as long as it's before. Oh, well, here's the thing, I'm not gonna lie to you. Once I get to September 25th,
I'm not gonna turn my computer on.
Okay,
I'll tell you I am,
okay.
but that's a
okay,
lie.
Okay.
So this is the first pass. So
Yeah.
in.
For
you know,
disclosure.
as
This isn't
we're
final, yeah. This is
scheduling
just our
working out,
first
it's
review.
the first pass, and
Yeah.
then we can discuss.
Yes, that'll be
Okay.
fine.
And
All right, good.
Chair Brown, I just want to mention that, want to give Commissioner Johnson advance documents because her inputs are very incisive. She's got the.
No, and that's why I brought it
That's,
up.
I'm not just stating
You
it
need
from my
to get that prior
perspective.
to the 25th.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's what I'm understanding.
Yeah.
But if she gets it on the 25th, then it's not necessary to get it to her, because she's not gonna look at it after the.
I probably,
Yeah,
Okay.
so if it's, he doesn't need to be in a hot hurry if it's not gonna give her.
Well, I'm back on the 21st, so that'll give us 3 days to go through. I like to have it as cleaned up as I can, but just understanding it's a first draft and.
yeah,
I've been meeting with all the departments, but
yeah.
we're gonna be massaging it.
And this is my first rodeo with
Yes.
this budget.
Well,
This-
giddy up, that's all I have to
Yeah.
We got in on the tail end of it last year, so I'm almost right there with you.
Okay.
All right, great. Oh, back to me,
Back to you.
sorry.
It's all about
Okay.
you.
All right. So, a group of us attended the annual WISTA conference, Washington State Transit Association. And I wanted to announce we had 2 Spirit Award Wall of Fame members, Tony Senseri, our Senior Community Outreach Coordinator, and Michael Cavender, our Maintenance Supervisor. Just to say a quick word on each of them. Tony consistently goes above and beyond to ensure community members feel confident and supported. He develops inclusive educational materials tailored to diverse audiences and actively considers how service changers impact riders. Yes. Tony stepped into his role with little guidance and quickly made it his own, demonstrating initiative, creativity, and a deep commitment to public engagement. Whether helping a rider understand a new route or collaborating on team projects, he brings positivity, adaptability, and heart to everything he does. Mr. Cavender, a trusted leader known for his integrity, reliability, and collaborative nature. With a strong mechanical background, he transitioned from a technician to a supervisor, bringing technical expertise and commitment to mentoring his team. Michael works closely with all departments, tackles challenges head on, and consistently delivers results with attention to detail and a can-do attitude. So there's more in your packet, but we're very proud of both. So thank you for your service. Appreciate it. Projects update, Terry's Corner, we're so much closer now. We have the executed agreements. The invitation to bid will be published on September 12th and close on October 13th. So we're excited to see who is going to come forward on those bids. Transformer upgrade, the solicitation is active. Proposals are due on September 22nd. Long range plan, it closed, the RFP closed on the 26th, and we're going to have the kickoff meeting this afternoon. Looking at, I believe we had, was it 6, Nate? Or,
Yes.
yes, thank you, Brad. Thank you, Nate. Yes. So we had 6 proposals, so we're looking forward to seeing what those are gonna bring. Automatic passenger counters, the RFP is in final draft review and should be released today. This is gonna help inform our budget. We are including this project in our 2026 budget for board review. The project, please remember, is critical to our long-range plan launching in 2026 and will likely need to be funded with local funds to ensure the best available pricing. So just a quick note, I was looking at federal funding for this type of project, and I will say that we experienced this at Everett Transit. It does greatly complicate what you can do in your projects when it deals with technology and federal requirements. It also tends to drive prices much, much higher because of all of the federal clauses and requirements. So I am going to include it in our budget. I thought about doing the county, the STGB process, but that's not funded till 2028. So it kind of defies the purpose of matching our plan, but we are looking for available funding out there. So with that, oh,
Craig?
yes, Craig.
Yes, can you give us an update on the fiber installation?
On the what?
Ziply.
Oh, yes, the
Hello?
Ziply installation has been completed. They are just doing some finishing touches. So we got her
Ah,
done.
great.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
You bet. Just one of the outreach activities I wanted to mention was, Tony and Celine, I believe, their attendance at National Night Out on Camino Island, where we, welcomed approximately 150 attendees. So we're really trying to extend outreach. And I know that, Celine and Tony are working hard. I want to see it on all ends of our service areas, whether it be Camino Island, Clinton, Oak Harbor, Coopville. We want to make sure we're touching all those communities. So that's all I have, unless anyone has any other questions. Yes.
With regard to the outreach piece, I've noticed that we have in print advertisements or marketing for the district, which is excellent. And I'm not sure the scope or scale or even the presence of it online, but of course, you know, any of wise marketing online can be
Yeah.
very helpful to getting the message out there. We are here, we're real. Why aren't you on the bus? Okay.
And you know, and it's great timing, speaking to that, as we bought a bit of a larger package this year in anticipation of the long range planning process. Because 3/4 of that is about outreach, and so we want to keep that active in the public's mind.
Thank you.
So, okay.
Great. I will turn it over to Terrence for our HR manager's report.
I would like everyone to notice that we're ahead of schedule.
Good job.
Putting it out there.
Morning, everybody. So this is the September report for the month of August. We had 69 operators. Let me back up a little bit. Last month, we had 7 operators that were in ride share or training. We currently have 2 still in training, 3 in ride share, and 2 have completed ride share. And the next cycle will be in October 6th. We have 53 operators on Whippy, 16 on Camino. As you guys can see, although there was movement, we still have 69. We had 2 individuals leave, 2 individuals completed training, so the numbers remain the same as they were last month. And year over year, excellent. Did we skip one? Yeah, there it is. And year over year, as you can see, for the last few months, we've been holding steady. So we're not having the turnover that was previously afflicting us. So we're doing pretty good there. Any questions?
What were the reasons for exits?
We have 1 individual move and one individual was terminated for,
Didn't work.
attendance.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Your sense of the matter of pay and benefits affecting decision-making by operators or anybody. Do you get any sense that that's been a going or increasing issue? I know there's no graphic on it or anything like that, but I'm just trying to get a pulse with regard to turnover of personnel. Because we visited a good deal about the pay and benefits that we offer compared to other jurisdictions or other districts.
No, the benefits people are generally happy with, it's more, getting our pay aligned.
Okay.
But the benefits we have, people are happy.
Thank.
Nobody left in the last 2 months for that reason, though. Right,
No,
okay,
no.
that
That's a
was,
good,
yeah,
yeah,
that was the question.
well, I know.
No,
I mean, I don't have a single employee who thinks they're paid enough, just to be clear, that's not a unique thing to Island Transit, that is a human thing, people pay bills.
no,
Yeah, are you paid enough? No.
they weren't leaving for that. It was, one individual moved with, their, significant other, and another individual was like,
Okay.
yeah,
Excellent. That's good news. That's good news in my perspective.
Thank you, Tara. So,
I have a question quick, and this may be something that was discussed before my time, but I've always been curious to kind of know what the training is. How long they're in training and what the cycle looks like, because you said some are in ride share and some are in training. It would just be interesting at some point, just what does that look like from when they start to when they get in, I call it into production, but into they're driving solo. Is that an unreasonable ask?
No, I think we could have one of our trainers or,
Okay,
It can be answered now. I mean,
okay.
if we.
I'm trying to keep us on time.
Brad is here. So basically, the training period is 8 weeks, give or take a few days. The first 4 weeks roughly is for the CDL training, is their classroom training. They're learning customer service, they're learning how to drive the bus, they're learning first aid, everything associated with being a driver. Then at about the 30-day mark, they take the CDL driving test, if you will. And as soon as they pass that, they move into 4 weeks of what we call ride share. And that's where the operator trainee is partnered with a senior operator on a variety of different routes. And it's the shared driving experience for the mentoring. That goes for another 4 weeks. The operator trainee can ask for additional time if they feel they need some additional time behind the wheel or more familiarity with para versus fixed route versus, different aspects of that. Then after that period is done, that's when they become an operator. So the training period is approximately 8 weeks from start to finish, and then they move into operator. When they hit that operator benchmark, that's when their probationary period starts. And as an operator, they have 120 days probation.
but that is dependent upon the individual. Everyone learns at their own pace, but on average, that's what.
Yes.
So, follow-up question, when the operators are trained, are they trained on all? So paratransit across the
Yes.
board, so
Yeah,
they're,
that's a great question. So they're trained to be able to drive any size bus, any type of a route, paratransit, fixed route, including some aspects of on-demand and what all of that looks like. So they're trained to be able to do everything within the complement of what an operator should be doing.
thank you.
Thank you.
She knew
I
that off the
wanted
top
to
of her
make
head.
one comment. So, I wish we didn't use the word ride share for two things at Island Transit. The ride-alongs that the new drivers have and ride share for van pool.
That's what prompted my question, because I was confused, and so,
Yeah.
I want you to change.
I
the
agree,
picture
it
that's
drives me crazy. Is there a reason we don't just call it van pool?
The state.
Joined the
Department of
meeting.
Transportation Has changed the name to the rideshare program.
So we know which one, Craig, that we need to look at changing, which is our,
Train.
our. Ride along. Then they'll think we're cogs.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
But yeah, no, very good point. Let us come up with some ideas.
Okay, any other comments or questions before we move into executive session? Okay, we are gonna enter into executive session to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency litigation or potential litigation. With reference to RCW 42.30.1101 And we will be meeting for
10 minutes.
10 minutes and
Danny and Sean's stay.
Danny and Terrence can stay and
Okay, thank you.
no action is being taken. We will reconvene to adjourn.
Closed session after that, but we'll.
Oh, and we have a,
We'll,
would be-
we'll re-adjourn to go into closed session and.
Right. It's not.
I'll need to know when you're all there. Oh, please, I'll stay until it.
Thanks, man. I missed the closed session.
Excuse me.
Why should?
Bless you. No, that's why
I'll
I
let-
asked the question.
I'll let you know when everyone's in the waiting room.
Thank you.
If you didn't have to.
I always know when there's trainees on.
Um,
Stretch, she tells me. their
Colleen,
names.
can you silent for a moment, please, while I'm doing this? Silence the room. Thank you. Okay, we're good.
Okay,
you're
back.
Yep.
And we're not recording.
Okay,
We're
Good to go.
coming back into session from our executive session, and now we're going to go into a closed session to discuss a collective bargaining agreement, RCW 42.30.1404A. And we will be out for about 5 minutes, and then we'll come back just to adjourn.
all right. 1 second. I need to put those folks back
Thank you,
into the
Matt.
waiting room.